What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Toys, Legos, and Collectibles. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at Legions of Power from 1986. I'm sure you guys all remember that. Alright, so if you're not familiar with Legions of Power, here's a quick commercial to catch you up to speed.
Legions of Power. 10 realistic high-tech building sets that make a universe of battle machines. Each set sold separately. You can build an army of amazing vehicles. Batteries not included. All parts are interchangeable. Now with each building set, you can pretend that you control the power of the universe.
Legions of Power. Tech Dynasty planetary control vehicles and other sets sold separately. New from Tonka.
So Legions of Power is a very obscure toy line that was released in 1986. Kind of went into 1987 a little bit by Tonka and Bandi. The two companies collaborated to make a space capsule building set, sort of similar to what Lego was doing with their building blocks, but these are more capsule based, as you guys saw in the commercial. Now, Legions of Power still remains one of the least known, rarest toy lines of that decade, which in my opinion, growing up in the 80s, was the greatest decade for toys ever. And its failure is really due to two key components. The first one was lack of advertising. This product wasn't promoted that well. It wasn't promoted at all, really. They did partner with Nestle Quick to offer a mail-away space capsule set. Unfortunately, not a lot of those were redeemed, as this product wasn't very popular. Nestle Quick dropped them as a partner. And because of that, if you can find one of these space capsule sets complete in the package on eBay or wherever, it's going to be one of the rarest toys from the 80s that you can find, just because there aren't that many of them out there. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. Well, fortunately and unfortunately. Fortunately, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg if you're a collector, because there's no demand for Legions of Power, because nobody cares if any of this stuff ever existed. But the other factor that really hurt Legions of Power, if you remember the 80s, every toy line had that's right, a cartoon. Legions of Power did not have a cartoon, and because of that, it absolutely got decimated and buried when you're talking about, you know, toy juggernauts like Masters of the Universe or Transformers or G.I. Joe. So the line really died a quick death, like I said, only about a year. Even though, you know, it only lasted a short time and nobody knew about it, I will contend that it did have some of the best box art of the 1980s in any toy line. I'll put it up against any toy line. The box art is absolutely amazing. We'll take a look at real quick at a montage of the box art right now. So Legions of Power is essentially a futuristic space construction building toy that combines changeable vehicles, action figures, motorized parts, and comic books, right? That was the hook. Buy a set, get a comic book. Now, the line only consisted of 14 different vehicles, but you would think there would be 14 different comic books. There are only 4 comic books in total. In fact, I have 2 of the same comic book out of the box of Legions of Power toys that I got at a garage sale, you know, like 3 or 4 years ago. So I can only read 1/4 of the story, I guess. But all the toy lines from the 1980s, you know, they had these really crazy stories. And what would happen is they would start simple, and over the life of a cartoon, they would develop the story. Legions of Power never got that opportunity because there was no cartoon, and like I said, the line was short-lived. But so its basic backstory sort of goes something a little like this. There's some kind of probe or spaceship from Earth that goes to this distant galaxy and explodes. All the pieces fly around this galaxy and land on these planets. The Star Legion, which is represented by the blue vehicles, find some of these parts, and the Tech Dynasty, represented by the red vehicles, also find some of these parts, and they build up these crazy vehicles that sort of, they don't transform, but you take them apart and you can like make them in travel mode and battle mode, stuff like that. They are fighting. Where have I ever heard good guys blue, bad guys red in the 1980s? I don't know. It'll come to me. So that's the basic backstory. Now I'm going to show you guys the box of Legions of Power toys that I got like at a garage sale 3 years ago. And we're going to try and put some of these together and see if we can build any of these Legion of Power sets. And I'll kind of give you my final review of if I think this toy is any good or not. All right, you can see I'm working on this video very diligently. Got a lot of stuff going on, but this is my box of Legions of Power. I think I said I got it at a garage sale a couple years ago. That is not true. A friend of mine that I work with, that I resell with, he knows somebody that had a bunch of these and Transformers and Micro Machines. That's where I keep my Micro Machines right there. This was part of that lot, and I just kept it. I posted it, nobody wanted it, and yeah, here they are. So this is what their minifigures look like, little alien dudes. We'll look at those later. The blocks look all like this. They're all just gray, blue, and red. I mean, they're not very exciting to look at. There is the comic books that I showed you guys. And then here's the instruction manuals. You can see this is blue, and this one's red. So the blue, this is a good guy. This is a Star Legion. But yeah, you just put them together like so. All right, so here are our comic books. We'll get those aside. We've got this is probably pretty valuable right here. It is a sticker sheet, still complete. And then we've got a couple manuals for some little vehicles. Hope that's showing up. A couple manuals for some little vehicles. We've got a Star Legion because it's blue, and we have a Star Legion that's motorized. And then we have a bad guy, a Tech Dynasty, a couple of those. So let's just get started, and we'll try and let's put this one together. Star Legion, easy to do. So it's just like Lego. We'll open it up, and we'll grab some pieces. Okay, take two. You can see it's red. So we went from Star Legion to Tech Dynasty. I actually tried to grab all the parts for that vehicle, and they were missing. It was missing a part. But here's what the inside of the instruction manual looks like. I love that it has like this interesting little story there, like I just said. And here are all the parts. Now the little minifigure guys are in the bag, but that's all the parts for this thing. Got a lot going on here. So we will put this bad boy together, and we will see what it's doing with the Legions of Power. All right, here is our first Tech Dynasty build. Pretty awesome. It was actually pretty fun to build. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be to find the pieces in this huge box and then put it together. But you can see that there's some pieces that are kind of left over. I'll show you what those are for in a minute. This thing measures about 20 inches across, and then the minifigures are rubberized, or these little action figures are rubberized. One of the play features that I can tell you right now that I do not like is I don't like the way this was built. It leans forward and you can't get your figures in there. You have to actually take this capsule off, put the figures in, and then put it back on it. This would be a better part if this opened this way, like it opened here and then you closed it forward. That would probably work a lot better. But yeah, really cool. These pieces glow in the dark, so that's kind of neat. So on this build, if you look at the manual, it'll tell you like, this is observation mode, and then that's what it's supposed to look like, and then it tells you how to put it together. Well, if we turn the manual page, we can see here's another mode, lookout mode. And then here's all the pieces that you will need to build that vehicle. And for this vehicle, you do need these glow-in-the-dark cones for the back of the vehicle. So if we turn the page again, there's another mode, speed mode. So if we wanted to build that, that's how you would build that. And then here is the winch that goes with this build. But you know, back in the day, 1986, being creative, playing outside in the dirt, I may want to take this winch and attach it to the front instead of this cone piece right here, or attach it onto the back. So that's really cool that they give you like 3 or 4 different build types in one manual, and then they give you the pieces to do that. You don't have to buy like extra parts. But I wish they would have incorporated the more glow-in-the-dark parts and then the winch onto this build somewhere. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to try and build this Star Legion's motorized part. And I thought these were for smaller vehicles. These were instruction manuals for smaller vehicles, but it's actually, all these are just advertisements for motorized vehicles and all kinds of stuff that's coming out in the future, which never came. So these are pretty cool little inserts to add to it. This Tech Dynasty manual is the exact same as we have here. So I'm wondering if there might be 2 builds in there. I don't think so, because I can already see a piece that it's missing. It's missing this fuselage part. But we'll try and get the motorized one built, and we'll see if we can do it, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I guess I'm here to share some final thoughts, but before we get there, I just want to mention 2 things. I wasn't able to actually build any of the Star Legion's vehicles. They were missing too many parts. The mechanized one was missing 2 legs, and the other one was missing like a big piece of shielding that goes on the side. I may try and make that one, and then just leave it without the 1 piece of shielding, or maybe look on eBay or whatever. But I did find 2 Facebook groups devoted to Legions of Power. One's called Legions of Power. The other one is called Tonka's Legions of Power. If you're interested in learning more about Legions of Power, I will link those 2 sites down below so you can check them out. So I guess, it's final review time. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give this toy a 6.5, a 7. It's easy to see why it didn't stand a chance against, G.I. Joe and Masters of the Universe, stuff like that, or Lego even. But I like that it's a little different than Lego. I like it comes with the action figures. I like the comic book. I like the manual. I even like the product review thing that goes on in there. That was like such a 60s and 70s and 80s thing, I guess, where they would stick information about all their products inside their product so you could buy more product, right? Like, you got to think, like, there was no internet, so that's just sort of how they had to do things. Print ads and TV ads and radio ads is pretty much all they had. But so I talked about some pros, some of the stuff that I liked. Let's talk about some of the cons, some of the things that I don't like. One of the things that I already mentioned, I'm not a brain surgeon. I fixed my own problem. So I had the cockpit like this, opening this way and hitting on that part. Watch this, boom, boom. Now the cockpit opens up and we can fit our guys in there. So that is what you call having a lack of experience with the toy line. But just to cite 3 things that I did not like about it, 4 things really. I don't like that it's kind of flimsy. I'm not gonna say it's cheaply made because the plastic is good quality, but there's just a lot of parts that can come loose. So that's definitely a downer. Number 2, and this is sort of something I already mentioned again, gray, blue, and red. Those are the colors that you get. Not very exciting. Maybe as the toy line went on, they would have introduced more colors. I don't know. I wish they would have added more of these glow-in-the-dark pieces because I think those are really cool. And number 3, I don't like that nothing shoots off of this thing. It doesn't have any missiles or any bullets or little bombs that it can drop, anything like that. So I can definitely see why this toy line took a back seat to other toy lines of the day. But if my grandparents or my parents bought me this, I would probably enjoy it. I would have put it together and I would have put it on my shelf. I'm not necessarily what I've played with this. I do like that it's an alternative to Lego, like I said. But it would be the vehicle that my G.I. Joes would hang off of. You know what I mean? It's got that kind of vibe to it. Other than that, I think Legions of Power is a really cool toy. So if you're a toy collector, a vintage toy collector, or you only collect from the 80s, definitely check out your Legions of Power because you can get them cheap on eBay, between $30 and $60, complete in the box with the manuals and everything in them. So they do look awesome sitting on the shelf, and this one's going to go in my vintage toy curio cabinet. And I'm going to see if there's some mocks or some special builds and try and use those pieces to build some other stuff. But guys, that is going to do it. What'd you think of Legions of Power? Did you have Legions of Power when you were a kid? Leave a comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, we will see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves.